Alright everybody, here we go again. Finally got the right tools. This is a 5/8 to take the starter off. I don't know if I already explained this, but I've got to pull this off to do the rewire the starter, since I moved the battery to the trunk. And I think this starter is just on by 2 bolts. I've already jacked up the car. I've got jack stands under it to be safe. And I've got the battery disconnected in the trunk. And I've already cut myself on this twist tie. As you can see, this is a modified setup here for a newer style 727 in this 65 Plymouth, which used to be cable driven. And this is how you set that up. You've got this plate here for your shift cable, which goes up into the B&M shifter. And then this is how I set it up. I used the go-kart cable, kind of, instead of running it this way up, I ran it, this was a 10-foot cable, I ran it, looped it back around and went out the front of the carburetor. It was just easier to do on the Holly. And in case you were wondering about that. So let me try and get this starter off real quick here, which is proven to be not the easiest thing in the world to do. I was kind of dreading doing this, but going to try and document some of it. And just pull these bolts out real quick. They're like, again, they were a 5/8 bolt. And so as you can see, the I don't know where my transmission's leaking. I think it's coming from the shaft seal for the this up here, this shaft. I think this shaft seal up here, even though I put a new one in, I think it's somehow started leaking. I'm not sure why, but I'll have to address that at a different time. I've got my hand full here. And what did I do with that wrench? Here it is. So let's see. Hopefully this is only 2 bolts. There we go. This is the... Probably should use the socket on this one. There we go. Oh boy. But everybody, including myself, wondering why I don't use a socket. Because I got millimeter sockets. Oh, it fits. Well, just use this. It's kind of hard to get all the tools ready to do this kind of job in your driveway. Of course, this is a DIY video. So not everybody has a shop that can, you know, do all this nice stuff in a shop like most people can. You just pay somebody to do it, which I probably should have done. Hopefully this doesn't take too long to get the starter off. Yeah, it's already loose. Luckily the bolts, since I hadn't been too long ago, I think it was, like I said, 2 years ago roughly, that I installed this starter. So the bolts were already, you know, they weren't rusted or anything. They were over torqued. They're, you know, fairly easy to get out. So there's the starter. There's a mini torque starter, and replaced the original one with it. I got this off of eBay. And oh, there goes my grommet. Of course, this one, and some of the people said that this starter didn't fit their application well, and it didn't fit mine either, because that grommet that just fell off is because these wires come pretty close to touching the block. And I had that grommet on here to keep it from doing that, and so I'm gonna have to take these off. Let's see what size those look like. 9/16. Let's see if I've got one of those here. I think this is a 9/16. Now it's 1/2 inch, of course. And that's, of course, it's turning. And, let's see, what is this cable? I should be able to get some more slack on this cable. My oil pan out of the way. Not sure why this is not coming down further. Okay, I'm back. So this is how I had this original setup rigged up. When I put the new cable in, I just hooked it together to the original battery. And but it's not, you lose voltage when you've got so much extra wiring, so I knew I was going to eventually have to redo this, which is kind of a big deal, more than I originally thought. So I'm going to use part of this original cable, and I'm just going to try and decrimp this, because I'm going to use this hot, because I can't get it off of the starting relay. And I don't think I have another cable, so what I'm going to do is just, probably people are going, wow, you could have resold that original wiring harness, but it really wasn't in that great a shape. And I think they make reproductions now, so I don't think it's that big a deal. And if I can get this wire out, it'll still be of use to me, so there's no reason to try and save it and sell it. I think it may have been modified at some point anyhow. But if I can get this wire out, which sometimes it's easier said than done. Yeah, that crimp is pretty well crimped. So you know what? I think I'm just going to get my Ziz wheel and cut it off. A little hot. All right, let's see if that's good enough. It's going to be hot. Probably need 2 sets of pliers. Let's see if I can get it apart with this. I'll tell you what, these things are tough. There it comes. There we go. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So, now that I've got this off, I can cut this wrap without slicing my hand open. And there we go. That's what I need. I need that piece of wire. And, that off of there. There we go. Okay. Now that that's loose, I can pull the whole starter out and then fiddle with it. And so let's go down underneath. And we should be able to just pull the whole starter out. There we go. Come on, baby. Uh-oh. Of course we got one. Oh. Okay, good. Yeah. We got hung on something. Never fails. You got to get back up. How about that? I left a fishing hook on it and it caught on to a big one. There we go. All right. Okay, here's the piece we've got to. I always thought there was a fusible link in there, but there was not. It was just a weird. I don't know why they put that on there. A little cut right there from the factory because I didn't do that. That's gonna be okay though. So yeah, good. I'm gonna be able to reuse this wire because that's good because I didn't have one, and I kind of didn't want to have a whole bunch of new wires up in the engine compartment because it's kind of a patina car, as you can see, and so we'll kind of keep that authentic, a little bit of that authentic look for you know, maybe one day I might clean it up, make it a little more presentable street machine or a more show car queen. It's like that gotten kind of hot at some point. It was kind of stuck to the cable. So I don't know, 258 7824 SX, probably the part number on this original cable, which other than where I kind of cut it apart there, which you could put a new end on, it's still a good cable. So we'll set that aside here for now, and well, good. So I should be able to reuse this. And this goes, if it's long enough, and it should be, this goes from the hot down here on this box as well. It goes it goes to the solenoid. Yeah, I took this off the solenoid right here. So that's good. So I'll just run those together with the new cable and kind of either tie it up with some electrical tape or put some of that you know, protective that's black, got a bunch of this black loom, so I may use that. So, or both. Probably use some of this 1/2 inch. Put that and this in there. Okay. Well, I'm going to get things cleaned up here and get things situated. All right, I'm back, folks. So, you know, most people would just probably crimp their fittings on. I like to solder them on. This makes a better connection. And anytime you can make a better connection, you know, electrical wise, it just makes you know, makes the volts and the amps flow better. So normally you would do this, you know, make sure you don't have any gas leaks or open, you know, fumes. Could be potentially dangerous. I've already cleaned out the fitting with some Brillo pad or stainless steel wool, and I put some flux in it, cleaned it out. So what I'm going to do is just heat it up, put some solder in it, and then push the cable down in it. So you just heat this fitting up enough, you can see the solder melting down into it. And that probably is enough. So you got to keep it warm while you take this. just push it down into the solder. Just like that, without catching yourself on fire. That was pretty good. It got a little warm on my fingers, but I'll take that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'll take it. So probably let that, let's see, sit there for a minute. Hopefully it doesn't catch anything on fire. Yep, that works good. That's on there good. You can see that's the solder goes down inside the fitting as well, and you know, makes a nice connection with the cable. So then you take your heat shrink, put it over the top, not too far, and maybe a little bit further, about there. Take this. Some people use a heat gun. Heat gun's easier. I just happen to have this, so I'm just going to use this real quick. Heat it up, shrink it on. I think the torch, well, it's still lit, so that's close enough. And over on this side a little bit, and looks good. I think we'll just leave it there. Cut that off. Okay, that worked. That went pretty well, actually. I'll take it. So that's the new cable down to the starter, and the only thing I've got left to figure out is, let's see, that's for the, this place is a mess, and this is for the this cable here. I couldn't get it to fit in there and get it into this fitting. I had to lose a couple strands as it was to get this. This fitting was supposed to be for this 2-aught size cable, but maybe if it was crimped down by a machine and it was perfectly cylinder, maybe it would have fit in. But I had to lose a few strands to get this, and I needed this terminal because it's a 3/8, and so I needed that. There was no way I was going to be able to tie those two together. So I'm going to have to put, I don't know if these two, I don't know if this one's long enough to reach. So I may have to put something to extend it. I'm just going to have to get underneath the car and check it real quick, and then I'll restart the video. But this is just going to go push down below. I'm going to push both of these down below, connect them, get the starter connected back together, and then put it back together. Hook the wire over here, put this stuff back together over here, and you know, the power to the car, and then the line, this line here for the solenoid. So I'm going to stop the video for now, and then I'll start it back up once I get it back. Alright, so I reused the solenoid lead from the original harness. I used the hot lead to the you know, to the body, to the fuse block, to where the, you know, all the main wires go into the firewall, back into the underneath the dash. And then here's where the new hot comes straight from the battery instead of using the original hot. So I've already kind of you know, put them on, tighten them down, and kind of pre-fitted up in there. Run these wires kind of a different way, so I gotta make sure it fit. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick it up in there now and try and bolt it back on and see how it goes. Because I'm getting kind of tired in this starter, even though it's a mini. It's kind of starting to get a little heavy. So hopefully, I just had it up in here. It goes like this, and I think it fits in there. Wires, there we go. It's just like that. Now if I can get one of these bolts started. There we go here. Oh, come on. go. There we go. Let's see. It'll just get started enough to grab the threads, which sometimes is difficult to do. There we go. It feels like threads. Boy, this isn't easy. Try and video and screw these in at the same time. I think it's going in, I hope. Can't really tell. Nope. Oh, God. Actually, I think I left out the piece anyway. Have this little nubber that goes on here. Oh, come on. I got this thing all twisted kind of funny in here. I think it goes somewhere. There it goes. I don't know if that little black nubber stayed in place. Oh, there it goes. There's the threads. Okay, I got it started, but I got to make sure that little black nubber stayed on. So let me go up top and take a look. Let's see. No, looks like it fell off. No, it's on there. Okay, good. And the starter is very, very close to touching the block. It's not even funny. Alright, well, that's the way it was when I took it apart, so back underneath we go. Let's see what this looks like. Okay. Alright, that looks good. Should be able to get the other bolt in. Go up here somewhere. Make sure that's not pinched. Get my wires pinched. Oh boy. Let's see. These wires need to come out of the way. There's a hole. There we go. It's in the hole. All you gotta do is get it. There's like no room to get your arms up in here. It's impossible. Not sure how I got it out to begin with. So I think I'm just going to have to put the, try and get a ratchet on it. Because I'm getting kind of tired, running out of juice here. I can't remember which one of these wrenches. I think it was this 5/8. Yeah. I think it was one of these sockets I used. I think it was this one. Let's get in here with this. Make sure this thing doesn't fall off. Well, on that one, I got sockets laying all over. I got everything but the right one. This isn't it. Okay. There it is, of course. Oh, why wouldn't it be all the way over there? It feels like it's getting a little tight. Feels right. This bolt sure is going in kind of tight. I think it just seems not everything wants to get in the way of this. You can see right now, cross threaded that bolt. Okay, here we go again. I had to get a different set of tools, and I got that top bolt started finally, and I think I had the bottom one cross threaded. So, because when you can see in that previous shot there, when I had to move all the way around to get my arm up in there, this bolt was going in crooked, so I backed it back out and I put it back in the correct way, and I think I've got it started correctly because now it's going in much easier like it should have. Yeah, and you can see now that it's straight. The bolt is straight with the block. Before it was crooked, so I think I narrowly avoided disaster there. And so we're going to go ahead and keep going with this. Yeah, that looks good. It's just a little tight going in. I'm not sure why the socket won't stay on now. There we go. Yeah, it's not that hard to go in. It's pretty easy. It probably started to cross thread a little bit, but caught it in time. There we go. Okay, I guess that's tight enough since everything flew apart. And I needed that socket. And of course it fell all the way over to the other side of the car. Is that great? It goes over here. Oops. Gee. It's always when you're just about finished. And your socket goes rolling halfway down the driveway. I've got this little adapter here for my 1/4 inch. And because it's super tight getting up into this top one, no room to turn a ratchet, so there's not really even a place to get your arm. There we go. Go around this way. And of course this ratchet doesn't. If the bolt's even slightly loose, the ratchet doesn't want a ratchet. There we go, it's real loose. Let's go again with this. This car is so nasty. Oh, good. That's great. Lost my camera. Let's see. I can't even see where the bolt is. Rest assured, it's up here somewhere. There it is. There it goes. There we go. Tight. Tight. All right, that's tight. Just gonna put a couple zip ties on these wires, keep them out of harm's way. Got some zip ties here left over from another project. So we'll take a couple of these and we'll slide out of the way. We'll kind of tie all these together so they don't get somewhere where they shouldn't be. That's good there. Probably could have cut this power cable a little bit shorter, but you know, it's better a little long than a little too short. That one's kind of tight already. Probably didn't put it back all the way as far as it could go. Let's stick one more right here. That should be good enough. Keep them away from the heat. There we go. Let's take some nippers and nip them off a little bit. Hopefully this is coming through okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Could have tightened that one a little tighter, but that's good. All right. Everything looks good. It's back in place. Nothing's pinched. I probably could put a zip tie on that green kilt wire. Get one more. I got one back here if I can. There we go. Let's see. I'll get this one more zip tie up here. I think this is for the neutral safety switch. Goes down to the transmission plug, going 3-prong plug going into the transmission here, which you can see it's got 2 more leads. One of these is for the reverse lights. The original car only had one. The original transmission only had one wire coming out of this. This one's got 3 because it's a 72 model. This transmission's out of a 72 RV, which is what you want if you're gonna retrofit one of your transmission, because the 70, 71, 72 and up have the upgraded bushing and valve body. I think the 75 on up even has a better valve body. So, but I got a pretty good price on this unit here, and I didn't even rebuild it. It's got had 40,000 original miles on it, they said, and I took his word for it, put it in, and it's been working ever since. I guess I could have put that with the other one. I just didn't notice it. I didn't really need two of them there, but that's gonna have to be okay. All right, that looks good. It's all back in position. The wires, you can't see them, so I hope they look good and they're not touching anything. I shielded them, and I think I'm gonna pick this cable up and put it back in this, if I can, this original housing, which maybe I don't know if I can or not. Not holding this light anyway. It's supposed to be a magnetic light where you can hook it to anything. I'll find it hard to get it to stay anywhere. There. So this was the original bracket up here, but I've got a little bit of play in this cable. There we go. I want it to come up here, go in this bracket, like that. It doesn't really help any. I don't know. Oh, that'll work. That's good. I really don't like it resting on there, but because it could vibrate. I might take a piece of hose or something in here. Take a piece of heater hose and wrap it on here and slide it up in here so these wires don't rub against the edge of the transmission and wear through. I mean, it would take a long time probably, but you know, I like to do things right the first time so I don't get stranded. At least that's the theory anyway. So that's it, folks. I'm gonna crawl out of here because I'm getting tired of laying on my back. And I'm gonna hook the positive battery back up and hopefully it still starts. And if it does, I'll continue with the video because I got some stuff I got to do in the back as well. So I'll be back in a little bit, finish this up. Alright, it's time to finish up this project. So here's back again, folks, and I just wanted to show you my battery ran out yesterday, so I wasn't able to finish. Well, at least in my eyes, I wasn't able to finish. But I wanted to finish up the last sequence of the finishing up my battery relocation of the battery to the trunk, which I didn't finish the first time I did it. And I showed you the that fitting that you can buy on any of the speed shops or big box stores, and I mounted mine up top. Now some people had to keep it away from the spare tire. I could have maybe mounted it down here, but I wanted to make the battery cable as short as possible. You can see that it goes down back behind the back seat, and you know, I mounted my battery up on top of the bench there, which is directly over the axle, and I did mount a kill switch, which, you know, you just reach in into the fender well from the outside and turn it on and off. A little bit of a safety feature, and then I don't have to disconnect the battery all the time. And those are the grounds. I did have to make these two little, you can see these wooden pieces for this style mount, which I bought, and off of, you know, again, off of one of the speed shops. I think this one was Jegs. In particular, it was reasonably priced, but able to make this newer style Mopar battery fit with this older style mount. I had to make these two, you know, 1 inch, I think they're about 1 inch by 3/4 inch blocks, so the mount would hold the battery correctly. And I could have moved this box over a little more in hindsight. The mounts underneath the battery box, there's slots in there, and you just drill through them. Just make sure you're not going to hit any lines or anything underneath. Actually, right here, you can see here where I'm going with the light, that's where the frame rail is. So I put my bolt right about here. It was just on the edge of the frame rail, so you want to make sure you don't hit any of the you know, support objects or gas tank or gas lines when you're drilling into it. You want to make sure, you want to check all that out before you do any drilling. And I put mine up top. For one, I like the trunk space because I use the trunk space for storing other stuff. And two, it makes the positive cable shorter. Three, if you actually cared about performance and drivability, it's better to have the battery and any weight right over the top of the axle, which is where the battery is. And it's not back here flapping, you know, giving more weight to the back end of the car, which doesn't help the handling at all. And so that cable runs, and when I put that cable in a couple weeks ago, the only thing I had to do was loosen up the back seat, pull it up, which anybody who's worked on these old cars knows. You just push it in, and because there's a clip on each side, the little long rail that goes down into a clip, you got to push it back and out to get it out. And then on most of these older cars, to fasten I took this sill plate off so I could show people. On most of the older cars, they have these panels with these with the little triangular sharp catches there. So when you put the carpet in, it's supposed to catch on those on those little sharp triangles. And that's where I ran the cable, and you can see that's where the original cable is as well. And so I simply ran it down there. You had to take the sill off, push the back seat up. You have to take this kick panel out, and I ran the cable up, and you can see it comes out of the kick panel. And unfortunately, I had to go through that, which mine was pristine, and you can see I destroyed that that original insulative panel that's just basically keeps I guess heat out of the car from the engine compartment, which I don't think it does much, but you know, I had to go through it because that was really the only spot I could get the cable to go through, and it pretty much, once I went through it, it's destroyed it. So because it's, you know, 50 years old. So that's how I routed the cable, and the cable comes out nicely right here. Again, you want to make sure when you're drilling that you're up above the pinch seam where they put the bodies together. It's the pinch seam is down there. You can see I just went up above it a little bit, over a little bit from the fuse block. And then earlier in the video, I was showing you where I removed the original cables. And then, you know, originally that cable ran along here and then connected back to the original, which is how I left it a couple weeks ago. But then I finished it up yesterday where I ran it down and ran that new cable, put an end on it, and ran the other cables directly to the starter, which worked out really well. So everything went well. I was going to test it today and see how it started, because I had so much cable length it wasn't starting well. And it started fine when it was cold. I could tell it started better. And I'm going to try it when it's hot, because I ran it. You can see my temp gauge is up over 190. So that worked out pretty well. That the last time I tried to start it with all that extra cable length, it almost wouldn't start when I stopped at the gas station, because anytime you get, and there's a chart online, anytime you put anytime you increase the length of the cable, you get voltage drop, and it's 2% for every, I think it's 10 feet or 20 feet. And when the way I had it run, when I connected it in, which wasn't the right way to do it, it was just temporary. Once the starter got hot, it takes more amps to turn it over, and it wouldn't start. But that was the first test since I cut all that extra cable out and rewired it correctly. And I lost about, I don't know, somewhere between 8 and 10 feet. I didn't measure it exactly, but that's how much cable length I took out by rerouting it. And and that was the first time I started it hot, and you can see it spun over. It was spun over fine, so that's a win-win there. And so I apologize earlier, that helmet cam video wasn't even made for to wear on my head. I just rigged it with the straps that they gave me, and I think I should have left the wide angle on it, because some of the views you can't see where I'm working with my hands, because it just I think I should have left it on 170 degree view, and I probably would have got, was just a trial and error. So, but hopefully, you know, what I've shown you here, you know, if you're deciding to relocate your battery, this is where my battery originally was, and it was the battery tray, which was here, and it was rusted out. There was a bracket that went down from the frame up to the tray, which was here. And one of the reasons then the battery set here, and you can see I drilled a couple of holes in the core support here to get some air, because these engines run pretty hot. And another reason was to get all that dead weight from the battery off the front end of the car, which doesn't do any good for the handling. Plus the battery sits in the engine compartment and gets hot. And it was also, the battery was here and was blocking this hole, which I wanted, you know, air to be able to flow through that hole. So there were several reasons why I moved it to the trunk, as well as I put this vacuum pump, which fit nicely right inside the fender well here, and so that worked out just perfect. And so this is to sum it up, is you know, some of the steps that you're going to have to go through. It's probably going to take you, I don't know, it took me a couple days to actually get it right. And like I said, I did the initial install of the cable a couple weeks ago, and then because I don't have a shop, as you can see, I do a lot of my work out here in the yard, you know, kind of on the edge of the forest here. And so I need to keep the car running, and that's why I just kind of put it together with the original cable at first, and it still started, but it was just starting weak because of the voltage drop, because of those long cables. So now everything is the way it should, and as you just heard, it starts just fine, both cold and hot. So I'm pretty happy about that, and I hope these tips, you know, I hope if you decide to relocate your battery to the trunk, I hope they help you out. And you can check online. I've got a couple other videos there. A couple of them are for this Dakota here that I have, an RT Dakota. And but I've got a couple of, you know, axles, and I wish I had done a couple more. I think in the future here, I'm going to do the, I've got to redo the whole, put all new bushings in the suspension. If you can see here, these bushings are completely ate up. They're original, and since I've been driving it, they're eating themselves up. And this side of the car, I think this car was in a carport. That's why this side of the car, there was more rust and more patina than the other side. And a lot of the rubbers, fittings, and actually all the suspension components, and one of the brake lines was rusted on this side and the back that I had to replace. It just the car just, you know, degraded quicker on the driver's side. So I was assuming it was either pointing towards the sun wherever it was sitting, or in a carport. And again, that's it. So probably in the future here, maybe in a couple months, I'm going to show you, I'm going to try and document the replacing all the bushings in the front end. Got to completely take both sides apart, and I'll document that, so you can look for that video if that's something you're interested as well in a couple months. Thanks folks for watching. I hope this helps you out.